All right, let's see what we have covered in the last class. Right now, we are discussing Module 3, second chapter, which is Output Stages and Power Amplifiers. Under this chapter, there are various topics that need to be covered. We start last class with an introduction, and we told importance of power amplifiers, where it is used. Okay, normally in any public address system, there will be various stages of amplifiers, and last stage will be the power amplifier. And Stage 1, stage 2 can be the small signal voltage amplifiers, and these small signal voltage amplifiers pick up small signals from the human speaker or microphone through the microphone, and they increase the signal to the smaller extent. For example, if you look at an amplifier like common emitter amplifier, this can amplify maximum 2 to 3, not more than that. So how can we increase the gain of amplifier? One stage cannot provide sufficient gain, so therefore we need to cascade multiple stages like this. Output of one stage can be connected as a input for the next stage. Like this, if you proceed with cascade kind of arrangement here, and at the last there should be a power amplifier. So reason is I can't use here small signal or voltage amplifier, because small signal or voltage amplifier, okay, accepts only small signals. We have seen that when we try to apply large signal to this for a small signal amplifier, what are the consequences? If you can recall, uh, any large signal applied to the small signal amplifier, that leads to distortion. Okay, so small signal amplifiers cannot accept a large signal as an input. So therefore, for the small signal amplifiers to extract its maximum performance, we need to apply small signals only here. So therefore, here at the last stage, since signal will be cumulatively it's increasing because of multiple stages of voltage amplifiers, and last stage will be usually the power amplifier, because this can handle signals, I mean the voltage and currents of large values, and it can easily drive the loudspeaker which has got very low output impedance here. Okay, so that is the overall view of importance of power amplifiers. Uh, Apart from that, we have discussed even various applications where all the power amplifiers can be used. Normally, you see power amplifiers in public address systems, radio receivers, servo motors, industrial control systems, tape recorders, tape players, and televisions. In receivers especially, and even in cathode ray tubes also. These are all the various applications where we can use power amplifiers. And we were discussing even some important features of power amplifiers. So 8 to 10 features we have discussed in the last class. So power amplifiers, the signal level is going to be very high, so we can't use small signal amplifier as a last stage of a public address system, so because of the large signals. Power amplifiers has got large current and voltage swings. H parameters cannot be used to analyze the power amplifiers. We are supposed to use a graphical method to analyze power amplifiers, especially the load line drawn on the output characteristics of power amplifier. That's the way we use to analyze power amplifiers. And the power is very important. So here, in order to transfer maximum power from source to the load, impedance matching is very important. So power amplifiers output must have low impedance. So here we use amplifiers like in common collector configuration or emitter follower configuration circuits can be used, because these circuits will offer very low output impedance. So that's why we use these stages, these configurations as power amplifiers, so that it provides output resistance. So when output resistance is smaller, so it can transfer maximum load to the maximum power to the load. That's the idea here. We can also use common emitter amplifier, but it must be step down transformer must be incorporated along with that. Okay, so that's the thing. And the power amplifiers also, the power dissipation will be very high. We must use heat sinks. A lot of heat will get generated in the transistor, in the resistors, because we don't use ordinary resistors in power amplifiers. We must use some power resistors. So obviously the heat generated from the transistor and resistors will be very high. we need to remove the excess heat generated with the power amplifier, especially the transistor, power transistor, which serves as a fundamental element in the power amplifier. So that's why the power transistor comes with a device called as a heat sink. Okay, so you can see here we have mentioned that as a heat sink. So the aim of heat sink is to remove the excess heat generated within the transistor. So otherwise what happens is, there is a concept called as a thermal runaway. So transistor will burn out, because of cumulative heating effect in a transistor due to the large power dissipation. And sometimes if it crosses the rating, so in such cases, the transistor will burn out. So therefore the transistor usually, power transistor comes with an heat sinks. So heat sinks removes excess heat. There is separate material surrounding the transistor that removes excess heat. Not only the material, it also comes with coolants, various types of coolants, like you see in a computer also, right? Every processor comes with a coolant. The reason is there will be millions and billions of transistors in a processor. We need to remove the heat generated by all the transistors. So we use, a material, a coolant material to remove the excess heat. So that's an idea we use even here also. In power amplifier, we use power transistor. So once it crosses the provided the rating, so it lot of heat is generated and we need to remove that. So because power amplifier has got bulky components, not like ordinary small signal amplifiers what you see in the laboratory. Okay, and next comes, the harmonic distortion. That's quite common in power amplifiers. Harmonic distortion. Here you should know what do we mean by harmonic distortion. Okay, because here the output signal, if you observe, always the fundamental frequencies are repeatedly produced. Such kind of distortion are called as harmonic distortions. Okay, it's like harmonic waves. Okay, it is similar to the fundamental wave, because every sinusoidal will have a fundamental wave, right? If I analyze one peak here, okay, let's say this is going to be the fundamental, have a fundamental frequency, say f naught here. Similar waves are replicated here. We don't expect this, but the waves get replicated there due to the distortion. That's such kind of distortion is called as harmonic distortion. Repetition of waves similar to the fundamental frequency. Okay, so that kind of a distortion is called as harmonic distortion here. We want to eliminate this, this harmonics or repeated waves. Okay, so that's going to be such a kind of signal is going to be free from distortion. However, we can reduce that, but we can't eliminate, the distortion and noises. So analysis of the signal distortion in power amplifier is very important. If you're getting like this, repeated cycles or repeated waves, that we should analyze it, and we should find out an alternative way to remove those kind of distortions. Lastly, so power amplifiers are also called as audio amplifiers because they amplify signals in the audio range. Audio range is nothing but 20 hertz to 20 kilohertz. This is the frequency we can use even power amplifiers, 20 kilohertz. This is called as an audio range. Okay, audio frequency range. Okay, so the power amplifiers can be used to amplify the frequency within this range. Okay. All right, so these are the important features of power amplifiers. I hope you have understood the necessity of the power amplifiers and its important features. Now let us go through the classification, or the differences between the small signal amplifier and the large signal amplifier. What are the differences we find here? So in small signal amplifier, voltage is amplified. Just these are simple words which you can remember very easily. But in large signal amplifier, power or current levels get amplified. That's the difference. Okay, we are not specific to voltage amplification here. And next difference is H parameters are used for small signal amplifier analysis. Analysis means to study, that's all. Okay, in order to extract more details, we use H parameters. H parameters are nothing but hybrid parameters. These are widely used for small signal amplifiers. Okay, we have studied a small signal model for the BJT. Likewise, we use something called hybrid parameters also to analyze circuits such as small signal amplifiers. Whereas these H parameters are not suitable for large signal amplifier. We must use alternative technique like graphical method. A graphical analysis is used to perform an extra analysis on the large signal amplifier, power amplifier. Large signal amplifiers also can be called as power amplifiers. Okay, that's the difference. H parameters cannot be used. We must use graphical method. And look at the distortions here. Harmonic distortions are not present because the signal that we apply here at an input is going to be very, very small. Obviously, small signal will not give any distortion. So therefore, harmonic distortions are not present in small signal amplifier. Whereas in case of power amplifier, harmonics are quite common because the signal that is coming as an input for the power amplifiers is in terms of magnitude of volts, few volts. So therefore, harmonics are quite common. So we should identify the harmonics. We already explained what do we mean by harmonics. Okay, so repeated the cycles of fundamental frequencies called harmonics. That's a kind of distortion which we need to remove at early stage. Otherwise, it leads to a lot of other problems in a communication system. All right, so that is the difference between small signal and large signal amplifier. Normal BJT and normal FET are sufficient to do amplifying action in case of small signal amplifier. Whereas in case of power amplifier, we need power transistors. Ordinary BJTs or FETs are not suitable for power amplification. Okay, we should use power transistors. Same BJT comes as a power BJT, and FET with power FET is also available. Okay, in commercially. So that kind of transistor must be used here. Heat dissipation is not at all a problem in case of small signal amplifier, and heat sinks are not required at all in small signal amplifiers because the amount of heat generated is very less, which is negligible of course, because we handle only small signals, right, in case of small signal amplifier. So this can be neglected here, but however here in a power amplifier, the signal levels are very large and it is going to dissipate huge heat in a transistor, across the transistor. So therefore heat sinks are required. A lot of coolant materials are required to remove the excess heat generated in the transistor. Okay, so that is the difference. So next is size of a small signal amplifier. If you look at overall resistors, the transistors, everything, the size is quite small here. Whereas in case of power amplifier, the overall size of an amplifier circuit is quite large. Okay, it's larger, obviously. Distortion is not present. We already highlighted about this. Due to the harmonics, a signal is likely to be distorted. Okay, that's a harmonic is a type of the distortion that need to be reduced. Okay, at the early stage so that it doesn't propagate okay over the communication. Okay, the system. So we need to identify that harmonics. Power handled capacitor is small here, whereas here the power handling capacity, it is not capacitor, it is capacity. Power handling capacity is quite small here in case of small signal amplifier, whereas power handling capacity is large in case of power amplifier. And observe an output current and voltage swings. In case of a small signal amplifier, the output current and voltage swings are small, peak to peak values are small, whereas output current and voltage swing in case of a power amplifier, it's going to be large. Next comes what is called as an operating point. Look at this is an important difference which everybody needs to pay an attention here. Operating point is always on the linear portion of transfer characteristics. We know that whenever we operate transistor at the Q point, okay, Q point, we already know what is Q point. Q point is the point on the load line or point on the output characteristics. Okay, so this point tells us you can obtain maximum performance of an amplifier when the transistor is biased at the Q point. So Q point is nothing but it's the middle of the load line. So if that's Q point is nothing but called as an operating point. If the transistor is operated at Q point, that's a Q point is obviously chosen in the linear portion of a transfer characteristics. Though entire characteristics we have seen for BJT, it looks like this, right? This is non-linear, and we identify Q point somewhere in the linear region. We think that this is going to be linear, somewhat linear. So here we have a Q point here, and if transistor is operated at this Q point, that's the linear portion of the transfer characteristic. This is transfer characteristics. It's a graph of V0 versus Vi. for a BJT. This is for the BJT transfer characteristic. Okay. So this is a linear portion, though entire graph of a BJT is non-linear. Some portion is linear. This is called piecewise linear approximation. In that linear portion, if we can identify the Q point, okay, so this operating point has to be on the linear portion of the characteristics. I cannot choose operating point somewhere here in the saturation region. I can't choose operating point somewhere here, which is in the cutoff region here. So carefully you must choose an operating point there. So operating point cannot be chosen here and it cannot be chosen here. It must be in the linear portion of transfer characteristics. Then only you get maximum signal at the output of an amplifier. The amplifier performs its amplifying action, okay, only when it is in the linear portion of the Q point is in the linear portion of transfer characteristics. Now look at here in power amplifier. Operating point can be anywhere on the transfer characteristics. It need not be here. Since we are using here a power transistors, and operating point can be anywhere. It can be in the saturation region or it can be in the cutoff region. It need not be in the active region. What you see, this is an active region of a transistor. Okay, so that's the point which everybody need to understand. So operating point can be in the nonlinear region also, whereas here it doesn't work like that. Okay, so that is the main difference between the normal small signal amplifier and the power amplifier. Small signal amplifiers are widely used to do voltage amplification. Okay, you have seen that common emitter, common source in case of MOSFET. They are used for voltage amplification only. Whereas here you can see that the power amplifiers are used in public address system and even other audio circuits also. There are various applications we have discussed. In all those applications, this power amplifiers are used. Not only in public address system. Public address system is mainly finds its application. The power amplifier finds its application in the public address system. But there are other couple of circuits we have told already. In those kind of circuits, we employ power amplifiers. Okay, that's about the difference between small signal and large signal amplifier or power amplifier. I hope you have an idea now what do we mean by small signal amplifier and what do we mean by power amplifier or large signal amplifier. Right now we are discussing more details on the power amplifier or large signal amplifier. Let's focus now only on this. For the time being, we can forget this small signal amplifier. Later on we will come back and discuss the importance of even small signal amplifiers also. But right now our focus is on large signal amplifier or power amplifier. Okay, let's move to the next part of the circuit, which is classification of large signal amplifiers. Again, I strongly insist students to pay an attention to this. This is very important from syllabus point of view and even examination perspective. Classification of large signal amplifiers. How do we classify large signal amplifier? Okay, let's see the methodology used in classification of large signal amplifier. We know that large signal amplifier are nothing but the power amplifiers here. So for an amplifier, a Q point is fixed by selecting the proper DC biasing to the transistor used. The quiescent operating point is also known is shown on the load line, which is plotted on the output characteristics of the transistor. The position of the Q point on the load line decides the class of operation of the amplifier. I hope this point will tell you, okay, the classification of power amplifiers. Or I am underlining these points. Please note this point here. First of all, in the first few lines, I explained what do we mean by operating point and where it is fixed. Look at here. This graph will tell you the more details on this. What is this characteristics? If you observe it, have you come across this characteristics with reference to any device? Look at carefully these characteristics. You have seen this couple of times earlier also. This is a fundamental. Look at here title what it says. It's output characteristics with load line. So here we are drawing BJT output characteristics. When I say BJT output characteristics, the type of configuration used here is common emitter characteristics. Common emitter mode, BJT is operated in common emitter, and here what we are showing is output characteristics. In common emitter configuration, what is the output current? Anybody can notice? What is the input current? What is the output voltage? Just think about these things, because this will explain you this characteristics, and later on we can go for classification of power amplifier. So in common emitter configuration, so just let me draw the transistor in common emitter configuration. So this is common emitter configuration. I'm not drawing complete circuit here, I'm just drawing only the transistor part, showing the different terminals of a transistor. We have a base of a transistor, we have a collector, and we have an emitter. Okay, so this is common emitter. Emitter is common for both input and output. So this is input side of a common emitter amplifier circuit, and this is the output port, output part of the common emitter circuit here. Now I am just asking you, what is the output current in common emitter configuration? So the output current here, the current that is flowing, this is an output, right? Current here flowing is collector current, right? So this is collector current. What is the input current now? Input current is base current. And what is the output voltage? So we came to know here the output current is collector current, input current is base current. What is the output voltage? Obviously the voltage here, which is measured here. This is the output voltage of a from the common emitter configuration. What is this voltage? VCE. So output voltage is VCE. Now how do we draw the output characteristics? Output characteristics of common emitter configuration is nothing but it's a graph of VCE versus IC for fixed base current. What is base current? Our input current must be fixed. Okay, this is nothing but the output character. This is a procedure to draw the output characteristics of common emitter configuration. The same thing you are seeing here in this characteristics. As you can see here, it is a VCE which is taken along x-axis. Collector emitter voltage of a transistor is taken along x-axis, that is the output voltage. So this is output voltage of common emitter, which is nothing but collector emitter voltage. And look at here y-axis, which is nothing but collector current. So which is output current. So this is output current. Now look at the graph. It's an output voltage versus output current. So obviously it is output characteristics, right? Okay. How do we call, why do we give name as output characteristics here? Because it's a graph between output voltage versus output current. Against our output voltage, we are plotting the output current here. So this kind of graph is that characteristics is nothing but an output characteristics. And look at here what we are fixing. In each and every curve here, you can see that the base current is fixed. Here you can see base current is fixed at 10 microampere, 20 microampere, 30 microampere, because normally base current is very, very small. It is in terms of microampere, but collector current is in terms of milliampere. So 1000 times difference you can see from here to here, base current to collector current. Okay, so we are going in increment of 10 microamperes, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. At each levels of this base current, we are trying to vary the collector emitter voltage, and for every value of collector emitter voltage, we are finding collector current. So that's how we get this particular curve for IB, fixing IB at 10 microampere. Similarly, to draw the second curve, you must fix base current at 20 microampere, vary the collector emitter voltage in steps, and corresponding curve can be drawn. Like this, you see family of curves here for different values of base currents. So this is how the output characteristics of a BJT is drawn, common emitter configuration mode it is drawn. Now here we have a load line here. So this load line already we have discussed when you apply KVL to the circuit here. So we can draw this load line, this line, this KVL equation what we get here, that is a straight line equation, and if we estimate the two extreme ends here, so we can draw this line and it passes through the various characteristics here. as you can see here. And somewhere at in this point here, there is an intersection between the characteristics and the load line. There is a characteristics of a transistor, and load line is nothing but which is obtained by applying KVL. This line is nothing but it's an equation of this KVL. And this equation, this straight line and this characteristics intersect at one point, that is called as a Q point here. And left side, if you can see, there is a Q point intersection is taken onto the y-axis, which is called as ICQ, because there is a collector current axis, and drawn vertically downwards, it is called VCEQ. The reason why we give subscript as Q is because this is a Q point. So Q point is very important for small signal amplifier, but it is not important for power amplifiers. Q point, as I mentioned, it can be anywhere. If you can divide this region of operation here, cutoff region will be on the x-axis, active region will be on the at the Q point, whatever you see, this is an active region, and saturation region will be somewhere here. This is saturation region. Now you can see a Q point can be anywhere. It can, for a power amplifier, it can be in the cutoff region, it can be in the active region, it can be in the saturation region. So based on this, now we are going to define different types of power amplifiers. I hope you have understood the baseline, of classification of power amplifier. Let me go back to the things what we have said here. First thing, we talked about Q point. I told you the importance of Q point. Q point is selected by selecting proper DC biasing to the transistor used. Q point is also drawn on the load line. As you can see, this is Q point is on the load line, which is intersecting the characteristics curve at 30 microampere. So there is the IBQ also, it is labeled. Okay, that is the Q point. The position of the Q point on the load line decides the class of operation of the power amplifier. This is important, as I mentioned here. The position of the Q point, where Q point is there, based on that, we can have a different types of power amplifiers. I stress once again, this is an important, please pay attention to this. The position of the Q point on the load line decides the class of operation of power amplifier. Where Q point is there, it is whether it is in the active region or in the cutoff region or in the saturation region, depending upon where Q point is there, we have different types of power amplifiers. That's what it is told in this point here. The position of the Q point on the load line decides the class of operation of the power amplifier. The various classes of power amplifiers are class A. This is a one type of power amplifiers. Again, I have mentioned here, based on the position, we have different types of power amplifier. Based on the position of the Q point, we will discuss in detail for class A amplifier where Q point lies, for class B where Q point lies, class C where is the Q point. All these things we will discuss. But right now, we understood now how we are going to categorize power amplifier. Power amplifiers are classified into different types based on the Q point on the load line. So this is very important. I will write once again here, based on Q point on load line, where it is, where the Q point is on the load line. Based on that, we have different classes of amplifiers. If somebody asks you what are different types of large signal amplifier or power amplifiers, you can give the reason how we are doing classification. We are doing classification of power amplifiers based on the Q point on the load line. So we have different types of the large signal or power amplifier, class A, class B, class C, class AB. So these are the four types of power amplifiers here, or large signal amplifiers here. Okay, now we'll discuss one by one where exactly the Q point lies for the class A amplifier. So students should pay attention to each one of these amplifiers because it's important from examination point of view. Okay, the characteristic curves are plotted on various values of IB. The intersection of output characteristics curve and load line is the operating point. So far, whatever I explained, it is already given here. Okay, so please pay attention, go through this, all these things. This notes is already uploaded in the Google Classroom. So far, whatever I explained, how do we obtain this Q point is already mentioned here. The point is fixed for a transistor called as a Q point or quiescent point or Q point here. The values of collector current and collector emitter voltage corresponding to Q point are labeled as ICQ and VCEQ. The Q point coordinates are nothing but it is VCEQ and ICQ. This is called as an operating point. See here, this is VCEQ is here, ICQ is here. Okay. On this DC quiescent point, this is nothing but the DC load line, because this is drawn based on the Kirchhoff voltage law which we apply here. Okay. So based on that we are applying Kirchhoff voltage law. Okay, so I am not going here how to draw this load line, that step, because we already learned how to draw the load line. If somebody is don't know how to draw this load line on the transfer characteristics, just you have to write here the collector part of circuit. I will just for your reference I would like to draw the equation relevant to this load line. See here, you can't ignore the topics or things that you studied in the first module or second module, because all are interconnected. So students should know everything whatever you learned earlier, because to proceed further you can't ignore the things what you studied earlier. Okay, let me show here the output characteristics here, output part of the circuit, the way we draw the load line. This is, and here we'll have a resistor, and here we have VCC. This is RC, and here we have voltage drop as VCE, and the current flowing here is IC. You must know what I am doing right now here. I am applying Kirchhoff voltage law here in this path to show the equation for this line. So what is the equation for this KVL? After applying KVL, what is the equation you obtain here? Minus VCC. I am starting from supply voltage minus VCC here. This is, though it is a plus VCC, I start from minus to plus IC times RC. That's a drop across RC plus VCE. This is a KVL equals to 0. This is nothing but equation what I have obtained after applying KVL is nothing but the equation for this line, because this is a straight line. This equation you can translate into the form of y is equal to mx plus c. Okay, mx plus c. X coordinate is nothing but it is VCE. So you can see here there is a VC, this is an x coordinate. Y coordinate is nothing but it is IC, which is y coordinate. This is y. VC is x coordinate. IC is y coordinate. So you can just arrange these terms such a way that you get equation in this form, y is equal to mx plus c. So this is nothing but straight line equation, right? And look at here, this is also straight line equation. So this equation can be drawn on these characteristics. Reason is the x and y coordinate of this line and the characteristics is same. That's why we superimpose this line on these characteristics. So remember, there are two things to understand here. These characteristics are relevant to the BJT. The line here is relevant to the circuit condition here, because this line is nothing but drawn after applying KVL, which includes even transistor also. That means there are two things we need to understand here: the characteristics and the load line. Though they are different way we have obtained, but we are superimposing them because of the x and y coordinate for equation, and the device characteristics are same. Okay, so that's why we have identified here Q point. Q point is nothing but it's a point of intersection of load line and the characteristics. At some base current this is intersecting, and now this Q point will decide what type of power amplifier it is. We have already segregated this entire characteristics into three regions: the BJT, the way it is operated. Okay, if it is on the x-axis here, when IB is very small, 0, that's cutoff region. The middle of this line is nothing but which is an active region, and here we have a saturation region where for large values of base current. So having said that background, we have already told based on Q point we have a different types of power amplifiers, namely class A, class B, class C, and class AB. And now we will discuss. We understood even the the way we draw this load line and the characteristics. And now we have a different types of the current that flows here in the circuit. You can see here what is the first wave here. All these are nothing but the first one is going to be the base current waveform, second one is collector current waveform, third one is going to be the collector emitter voltage waveform for the common emitter amplifier circuit. Look at here the base current waveform, which is quite small, and this is a DC base current, the middle line what you see dotted line, it is nothing but DC base current at Q point. So this is at Q point, quiescent base current I can say here. And now across this sinusoidal is oscillating, and the collector current you can see here, that is a current that is flowing in the output part of circuit. The base current is nothing but that is flowing here, IB. We have drawn the waveform for the common emitter amplifier, base current common emitter amplifier, which is shown here. Collector current, which you can see here, is a DC quiescent collector current. That's what dotted line shows. It's a constant because this current is set by biasing circuit. So therefore it is a constant, and this is an AC wave which oscillates across our DC collector current. Okay, so this is a AC collector current, and this is nothing but DC collector current. Okay, and look at the voltage here, collector emitter voltage. So we have shown the just IC waveform and IB waveform, and also observe VC waveform. VC waveform, if you observe here, what is the difference between this and this you identify here? Look at the phase here. Collector current is starts with positive cycle and goes negative, but look at here collector emitter voltage starts with negative cycle and goes positive, right? There is a 180-degree phase shift between the collector current and collector emitter voltage. Okay, so but these two are in phase, as you can see, small signal, large signal, both are in phase. So there is a 0-degree or 360-degree phase shift, they are in phase. But whereas here the collector current and collector emitter voltage, they are 180-degree out of phase. Let me tell you that with reference to characteristics this circuit. These two currents IC, IB are in phase, whereas VCE is out of phase with both the current waveforms here. Okay, you may ask a question, why this is important? Of course, this is very important in power amplifier. We will understand here, for what duration current flows, what duration current is not flowing, all those things to understand. This input wave, output waveforms are very important here. Normally, students make mistakes in drawing the phase shift between IC and VCE. They show same waveform for even VCE. There they go wrong here. So you must be careful while showing the waveforms here. So for a common emitter amplifier, we have showed different waveform. First is obviously the input waveform, input current waveform. The second one is output current waveform, output voltage waveform. Okay. So now we will see how this all the waveforms can be shown on the transfer characteristic, on the output characteristics, as you can see here now. Just below we are showing the collector emitter voltage, as you can see here. This is the collector emitter voltage waveform. Same waveform we have shown on the characteristics. Okay, you can see the swing here. This is the lower swing, the dotted line, lower dotted line. What you are seeing here is upper swing, and corresponding collector current you can see here, which is drawn by just extending these lines here, these lines. So this is collector current waveform. I'm sorry, this is base current waveform. It's a base current waveform, and this is collector current waveform. This is collector current waveform, this is base current, and this is collector emitter voltage. Because corresponding to this collector emitter voltage, just below we have drawn collector emitter voltage waveform, and here we have drawn base current input base current waveform, and here we have shown collector current waveforms here. All these things you can see here. So this is our input current, base current, and this is output current, This is an output current of an amplifier. This is output voltage of an amplifier. We are discussing common emitter amplifier, BJT based common emitter amplifier, and we have shown both input waveform, output waveform, output current and output voltage waveforms on the characteristics. Any changes in this waveform leads to corresponding change in the collector current and collector emitter waveforms. Okay. Any questions about this? I hope now we have set the background of the classification of power amplifiers. With this background, we can even study different types of the power amplifiers, namely class A, class B. You will see that interestingly the how we do this classification as class A, class B, class C amplifier. Okay. So we'll take up this in the next class. And meanwhile, if you have any questions related to the things that we have discussed here, like the output characteristics, the load line, waveforms, okay, and even important features that we have discussed, you can ask here before we wrap up today's class.